We thought just eating healthy foods made us healthy. Absolutely not. It's the balance of the different macros and micronutrients and, then the workouts on top of that and really making sure that the hormones are in balance because let's face it, when I came into Stark, I didn't even realize how bad my health was. And I don't know if you want to talk about that at all, but I was extreme on all levels. And through this, without pharmaceutical medications, I was able to get back into normal ranges.
I'm Todd Vande Hei, CEO of Stark, and I've gone from vegan to paleo to keto to carnivore, from cryosaunas to ice baths to training like an athlete to being injured like one and enhancing my mobility and optimizing my sex hormones with thousands of labs and thousands of scans. I'm surrounded by high-level medical doctors, naturopathic doctors, chiropractors, nutritionists, and strength coaches, all leading me in concert to a state of optimal health. And I'm here to share that journey with you, regardless of your age, your genes, or your medical conditions. I'm really excited to share this episode with you. This is an interview with a Stark student. His name is Matt Cook. He is the host of the Pull Hook podcast. He is a husband and a Stark student, and recently very, very sexy. Someone who didn't just try the process, but reorganized his life around it. And I'm so happy to be talking to him just 7 months after he started. And we're going to get into some of the specifics of his early experiences, what he's experiencing today, and what he's going to be pursuing in the near future. Let's talk about the beginning. So first of all, you're a Stark student. You're part-time in Southern California, part-time in Arizona where you live.
Yep.
So we see you with a decent level of frequency and you do some remote services. But I mean, you look like a regular dude when you started. And although, there's a lot going on under the hood, so to speak, with things like your cardiovascular health and your mobility, what I can see is a change in your body composition. You went from like a typical, I don't know, you seem like a 40-ish, early 40s kind of a guy to me.
Yeah.
You got a little bit of salt and pepper in your beard.
I do.
To kind of looking like a kid. Like your face is so your face is so much skinnier that your ears look a little bigger and your smile is a little bit larger because
it's so true.
The ratio has changed. It's kind of funny to see that. And it's great to see. I just love it because it happened very, very quickly. It's been how many months?
I mean, we're just in month 7 now. I mean, I know. Isn't that wild that over 6 months? I mean, I don't want to sit here and be like the guy that drops numbers, but I'm going to be at the moment. Like over 30 pounds of weight loss, over 10% of BMI. And I'm just like, holy crap, just to see the change that took place with me was wild because it wasn't anything I ever would have imagined could be possible. Like I went from being an exec sitting there sedentary to all of a sudden like having energy. Like my one big downfall was I would get tired in the afternoon and I would have a meditation session to where like I'd fall asleep for an hour listening to meditation like music. So like that was it, and it was awful because I'd wake up, I'd be dry, like just kind of foggy and not all with it. And when I have as busy of a schedule as I do, it's like, man, how in the heck am I going to overcome this? And thank goodness for Stark Health. And by the way, folks, like for anybody listening, being like, oh, well, he's a Stark student and so forth. Like I've been with personal trainers in the past. Like I've done these things to where like I've been healthy. I've tracked my fitness, but I have never, ever had results like this. I've always kind of been the skinny fat guy, so to speak, where it kind of all sat in my stomach and then my face. And you acknowledge the face part of it already, where you're like, you look like, I think when I came in after a couple months and you saw me for the first time, I think I was 2 months in, you were like, Benjamin Button, like you're reversing your age here. And it's really cool because that's actually trackable too, because I've got a Whoop and it actually shows me that I can go back in time. Like I started when I started Stark and I started tracking this stuff, they have the age thing on the Whoop now. And it showed me that I was 43 years old. So 2 years older than I am. Now, all of a sudden I'm 38 and I'm like, I feel it. I literally feel it. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's very gratifying to see. And it's not, your experience, it should be normal based on what we're capable of. But the difference is that when you started, and I really appreciate you doing this, you were coachable. You just followed what we asked you to do. And it wasn't like we asked you to, fly to the moon. We wanted you to change small little things in a fairly short period of time. Like walk a little bit more for this week and then a little bit more the next week. And they just sort of gradually ramp up. We wanted you to change your diet at first. We wanted you to exercise in a very specific way at the beginning, move a little bit more. And then we just added one thing on top of another at your pace. And that's the thing that people have total control over. How quickly are they able to or willing to assimilate changes to their lifestyle, but the changes to their lifestyle have to occur in order to get the results. And so thank you for just following our lead.
It was easy. I mean, I hate to say it, but like when you actually have a team behind you, and I think that's been the biggest miss in the past and why Stark is so special, because you have a full team. You've got the nutritionist, you've got the naturopathic doctor, you've got the neuromuscular chiropractor, which took me a long time to be able to say. And then you've got the personal trainers. So it's like, it's this incredible team. And I've always been an athlete throughout my younger days and played professional golf. So like, if I had somebody who showed me the way, I would follow that and follow it to a T. And that's kind of what I told you early on before even starting. I was like, if you guys give me the elements to be able to do this, I think I'd be able to do it because I've become very consistent in my life. And that coachability, as you mentioned, is probably one of my strong suits. I didn't even realize it until you just said it, but it's like, yeah, my dad was a coach. He coached everything from literally every sport you can possibly think of in high school. He coached it outside of golf, which is a whole different story. But, and that would be a whole nother podcast to go over that side of things. But it's just having that team in place and having the structure to be able to succeed has been, I don't think I could have gotten it anywhere else, to be honest.
I want to really hone in on the coachability aspect, because I think that maybe you're predisposed to being that way because you were raised that way, as you just stated, but everybody has that capacity. Everybody has the ability to say, okay, I will just follow you. I will take your lead. And when it comes to health journeys, there's so much confusion because of the impact of medical doctors saying literally 180-degree things from each other, and the confusion that spins out of that leads to people just kind of being stopped in their tracks. And when you step into the Stark ecosystem, because we have millions of data points collected over the last 12 or 13 years that include things like orthopedic health, labs, DEXA scans, bone mineral density scans, it gives us a very clear and complete picture on what the human body needs. And so a lot of the debates don't necessarily occur within the Stark ecosystem, because we have that combined with research and new products and new approaches spinning up that we're able to slowly tinker with and in some cases assimilate. There isn't a lot of guesswork. It's really, and because you and I and everyone else were 99.5% the same, there are differences in the beginning, but as you progress, for example, Matt, what I'm doing with my body and what you're doing with your body with a 17-year age gap as really the only difference, will eventually become the same in terms of what we're actually doing if we had the same goal. Because we are 99.5% the same. You're a little bit taller, very little bit. You're a little bit better looking, very little.
Wow.
You're a little bit younger, very little.
I'll take all of those.
But those are minor differences. Like we're really built the same. And so the biggest challenge then becomes, and hopefully this interview can help, just having the consumer inside of the Stark ecosystem just release control and allow us to lead them. And it's okay that some don't, but what that does is it just extends the timeline, which, selfishly speaking, is better for our business. But
yeah, that's a good point.
I want people to get to where they can be potentially as quickly as possible, as long as it's in a healthy way and it's sustained. And I want, like, I can't wait for you to get to a point where you're kind of like, what's next? And then you're at my state, and then we can start talking about all sorts of exciting new applications to optimize the human body and get you to a place where you can't even imagine you can be. And that's what excites me and motivates me, because that's the experience that I currently have. Because the world of medicine applied to health optimization, and medicine encapsulating nutrition, for example, and lifestyle changes, and actual sometimes pharmaceuticals like peptides, you're using the right ones. Those are spectacularly effective and exciting if you apply them to a healthy body. If you apply them to the standard American, I think I feel a little bit better. I think I'm losing a little bit weight. There's like barely perceptible, because there's so much in the way, right? Like some of the things that you've done was remove barriers so that the actionable items you've taken can lead to faster results, right? Like, for example, you've focused on sleep, improving your sleep, duration, quality, things of that nature. Well, when you train well, and you're also recovering well, that lever that you're pulling, that exercise lever, pushes you so much further forward, so much more quickly, right? So the future, I can see in your eyes that this has been an exciting journey for you. And when I see you in person, I see the same thing. You're just beginning, which is, I wouldn't have used those words with you 10 years ago, because I didn't really understand what human potential is back then. But today I have a much clearer understanding of it. So I can't wait to continue to share that journey with you.
You hit on something that I have to just mention, because number one, you just made me super excited, because you're just at the beginning. And I'm like, thank goodness, because I've been kind of to the point to where you just mentioned, you're like, what's next? And that's kind of where I'm starting to get that itch to be like, oh, what else can we do? What else is there that we can optimize and start to do? But if I take a step back, you talked about how noisy it is out there. And I just got to tell you, from a personal story of my wife and I, we actually thought that we ate healthy. Your podcast, for instance, Health is a Skill, didn't understand the title of it until starting at Stark, where I'm like, holy crap, I had no idea we were being so unhealthy. Like, we thought just eating healthy foods made us healthy. Absolutely not. It's the balance of the different macros and micronutrients and, then the workouts on top of that, and really making sure that the hormones are in balance. Because let's face it, when I came into Stark, I didn't even realize how bad my health was. And I don't know if you want to talk about that at all, but I was extreme on all levels. And through this, without pharmaceutical medications, I was able to get back into normal ranges, which even Dr. Alice there did not think that that might not be possible because of how bad everything was.
Let's get into more detail about where you were when you started.
For lack of a better term, I was fat, overweight, sedentary, and really didn't know what was going on inside of my body. So I didn't know my cholesterol was to the max. I didn't know that my blood pressure, I kind of knew my blood pressure was never very good. And so those things, and then on top of that, like the genes that I have with celiac disease and having gluten issues and like all the stomach issues that I had throughout the years, everybody was just like, oh, you got IBS. Like there was all these things that were just masked because we just didn't know. Right. And then starting with Stark and getting a full panel done, that was the moment to where like, that was the oh shit moment where I'm like, oh no, like this is really bad. Like that was the scare factor, I would say. Not that it was done by you guys at all in terms of scaring me, but seeing those tests, all of a sudden a reality set in. Like, holy cow, I want to like start a family and I'm not even healthy right now to where like, somebody mentioned it to me and it's like, you're going to have a heart attack or a stroke within the next 10 years, almost guaranteed. And it was like, holy crap. I could not like fathom how unhealthy I had become. So like, and then going through this process and getting dialed with a nutrition plan and with macros and micronutrients, I was just like, oh, this is how it's supposed to go. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And then obviously with the workouts and everything, I mean, you have some of the best personal trainers in the world. And I'm lucky enough to be able to be a student of theirs. And I'm just like, this is so set up for my success. All I got to do is follow it. And sure enough, like I put my trust in you guys. And from there, like I said before, all my numbers came back into normal ranges, which is wild. Even Dr. Ellis was just like, after everybody that you've had go through your programs was just like, I'm floored that you were able to get back to this level. And I'm like, it's all because I followed to a T everything that you guys gave to me. And that's the biggest thing that I can tell to anybody that is interested or looking to start with Stark is just put your trust into you guys and follow the program. If you follow the program, you're going to have tremendous result.
Thank you for that. Let's talk about other aspects of your health. So body composition is certainly a part of it, and its tight correlation or connection to cardiovascular health. What about athleticism, strength? Like you golf? Do you golf a lot?
I used to, and I was getting back into it. I was training, and you know what's funny is that Stark and everything that I'm doing health-wise kind of became the main focus. And I realized, oh, golf will come back. And I'm just starting to get back into golf right now. But I will say this, that like strength-wise, it's wild because I never expected to be able to lift how much I'm lifting or to be able, like in such a short amount of time too. And then seeing the athleticism start to come back to where it's like, oh, I did this Thanksgiving workout thing that my wife wanted me to go with a bunch of friends and everything. And it was like HIIT classes mixed with like HIIT class, high intensity interval training. And then on top of that, you had all this other stuff, all cardio based and whatnot. And I'm out there and I'm like, holy crap. Like I'm actually athletic again. Like this is exciting. This is awesome. And the other part of it is like, I don't get that sore anymore when I do have a lifting session. And then the mobility side's been massive too. I can't talk enough about that with the neuromuscular chiropractors you guys have, which keep you in the game, keep you going, I think is the best way to kind of put it, where, yeah, flexibility, especially in golf, is a big thing. So yesterday I went out for the first time in a couple months and actually played golf. And sure enough, like guys who are training all the time, like I played with two guys that are former teammates over at Grand Canyon University from way back in the day. We played on the same golf team together, and these guys have kept playing. Like one of them's trying to play professionally, and I'm hitting I hit the ball further than they did. And I'm just like, and I wasn't even swinging hard because I was just trying to make contact with golf club meet ball. I'm nervous just to make contact with the dang thing. And I'm hitting it further than they were. And I'm like, holy cow, all this training and everything, like I've kind of reset my body. And that's why I took a little bit of time off too from playing golf and from training, was because I wanted my body to get back to a place to where it's like, okay, now I can start to move in the right directions and my body can move properly. Where like for a long time I felt stuck. I felt like my body couldn't move and get into the right positions in golf. Any golfers out there will know what I'm talking about, because when they get into a golf lesson, their instructor is like, okay, I want your hips to be here at impact, and I want you to be able to do this, and I want the club to be here. And it's all flexibility. It's all being able to get into those positions in the first place, which when I started training again, right before start, I was just like, I can't get into these positions. Like we were creating Band-Aids because I couldn't get into the proper positions anymore for a proper golf swing. And sure enough, like now, like it felt easy yesterday, and I'm just like, holy cow. And I didn't even play that bad. So who knows?
Golf is interesting in that it's technically an explosive sport. And I don't know if you've ever heard it described like that, but
you described it to me when we first talked.
I have. Okay. Yeah. From a strength training standpoint, it's an explosive sport like basketball or football. And by that, I mean, you're in a standstill position, and then you swing the golf club, and depending on, hopefully not when you're putting, but everywhere else in the game, it's an explosive sport. And so by doing classic strength training that's really high quality, that improves your mobility while you're doing the strength training, everything from your feet to your knees to your hips has an impact on how powerful you are. And you can, of course, control how powerful you are. Your top end is just higher now.
It is. And I have more control too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the mobility work that we've been doing with you. That's where that kind of plays a role. So when you put them together, along with the right body composition, because if you're grossly overweight and you're losing mobility because of that, you can't be a great athlete. And so if I'm not a golfer, but if I were to become a golfer and wanted to, and my competitive juices got all riled up, which they can quite easily, I would be excited about specifically doing strength training for golf. I would also golf a lot because that's necessary. The skill of golf is important to develop, but the foundation of being a great golfer is being powerful and explosive, and not in a big, like bulky way, but in a lean, healthy way. So I'm excited to see how it affects you as you start getting more into the sport that you love so much. So let's talk about other parts of your health further. How's your sleep?
That was a big one in the beginning. I didn't realize, I mean, my wife would always complain. She's like, you're snoring all the time. She would hit me in the middle of the night. And I'm like, gosh, why'd you hit me? She's like, you're snoring like a freaking animal. And I'm like, all right, something has to give here. And sure enough, I went through a sleep apnea test. They're like, oh, you've got obstructive sleep apnea. And I'm like, I started going through some of the things. Like, I didn't want to get on a CPAP machine, right? That to me was like the end. I'm like, no, don't want to do that. And so from there, I ended up trying out a bunch of different stuff, mouth guards and so forth, and everything worked for like a couple days. And then I'm like, nope, can't do it. Like, just it's uncomfortable. I hate it. And sure enough, over this process of getting healthy, getting in shape, getting my numbers down, all of a sudden the snoring went away. All of a sudden the sleep apnea went away. And I'm just like, what a difference. My wife has not complained over the past, I would say 5 months, because we've been in this for 7. It really started to take place after 2 months. Ever since then, never again have I been snoring or anything, which is just a change of life, because I would wake up with a bad headache. I would wake up fatigued. That doesn't happen anymore. I wake up and I'm ready to go. Like, I'm excited for the day. I'm just like, man, here we go. Let's get it today. And it's wild to like think back, because I haven't done a ton of reflection, but like even in this interview, thinking back to like what it used to be, I'm just like, holy cow, that was so bad.
Yeah, it's such an interesting thing, the sleep issues that people have that are related to parts of their health that they have total control over. But there's not a connection there. I mean, I've had 4 sleep studies. I have all sorts of issues that are, I wouldn't say they're genetic. They were probably created by lack of nutrients when I was an infant. So the structure of my sinuses and things of that nature. And this is not special to me. When I get too heavy, even though it's not necessarily adding fat, it's muscle, my pulse ox will drop and my sleep apnea will ramp up. If I lose weight, and that includes the size of my neck, and it affects the size of my airway, my snoring and sleep apnea go away. And so there's this is an interesting thought that I want to share with you. You are currently in a state of your health journey from a body composition standpoint where you're probably going to need to start putting some muscle on. This is after you've lost a bunch of fat. So that's sound the alarm bells. You can't carry all this fat around. It's highly inflammatory, damaging long-term to your entire vascular system. So that's all in a good spot. Now you're going to add muscle. Well, you want to add as much muscle as you can without causing problems. And so an extreme version of this, for example, would be a professional bodybuilder. It's not uncommon for 30-year-old bodybuilders to sleep with a CPAP. How ridiculous is that?
That's wild.
They literally get to a point where they're so muscular that they can't breathe anymore when they're sleeping. They did it to themselves. They know it. And they just slap that CPAP on, which just blows my mind. It's a sport, though. I mean, let's be real. Most sports aren't necessarily great for your health. I'm not going to become a football player because I want to be healthy, or a hockey player because I want to be healthy. There are elements that are beneficial, but generally speaking, you go to the extreme levels to be great at a sport. And as a bodybuilder, that is one of the devastating outcomes associated with it. So if you just think about that, you're overweight either because your body composition is all wonky or because you get too muscular, you can get to the same problem. And when and if you start to experience that as you start to get more muscular, which is a great idea because by adding more muscle, you become more insulin sensitive. You become more metabolically flexible. And so you can control how healthy you are with much less effort. It becomes, I would describe it as effortless. And so you want to push the boundaries of that. And muscle enables you to potentially improve bone mineral density. So as you get older, that's fantastic. And if you can maintain or improve mobility while adding muscle, it's a killer combination until you put too much on and it starts screwing with your sleep and you end up with sleep apnea. So just have your wife be the supervisor there. And it's not going to be because you're getting fatter, obviously. It's going to be because you get too muscular. You may not get there. But in my instance, I'm very sensitive. Maybe you're not as sensitive I'm very sensitive to changes in my weight. And I'm talking about 3 pounds of additional muscle on my body leads to sleep apnea.
Well, you're jacked already, man.
I am, but I'm on the low end of it. If I put on 3 more pounds, I'll see my pulse ox start coming down. If I did a sleep study, it would come out mild or moderate sleep apnea. My wife would start complaining about snoring. And then I dropped those 3 pounds, and my pulse ox it was 100% last night. It'd be 99 or 98, bouncing around in that optimal range, and I'm good. And so I literally don't want to put muscle anywhere up from my waist up. Maybe on my glutes because that's what my wife wants. Whatever. Don't mean to sound creepy or get too personal on this podcast, but that is literally the only reason I'm doing any sort of hypertrophy, which is weight training for adding muscle on my lower body, beneficial. So, okay, so we talked about sleep.
Yeah.
So you're in a better place now. You just need to monitor it and make sure it remains that way, right?
Yep.
There's no pushing the extreme edges of sleep. You're good. You don't want too much. You don't want too little. You've got a nice balance, high quality sleep. How about your skin is beautiful? So I'm assuming your liver function is great, which means your body's ability to detox is improved as you've gotten healthier. How is your gut health?
Gut health has probably took the longest amount of time out of everything. And granted, when trying to get healthier, especially with all the cardiovascular health or the heart, right? I needed to start putting in a lot more fiber into my diet. Which, by the way, a little plug for psyllium husk. That's a drug in and of itself right there, because you start to really see benefits because of it. But all of a sudden my fiber went up. So all of a sudden I'm a little bit more gassy. The wife had a tough time with that. She's like, can you please talk to Alice and just try to figure out like how to get rid of that gas? So anyways, it was not like, but it was terrible leading into start. I would eat a meal, have to go to the bathroom immediately. I had no idea about any type of allergy, like food allergies, any type of gluten deficiency, celiac disease, like all of these different things I had no idea about. It was just, oh, Matt has a weak stomach. Oh, Matt just, he can't handle certain things. And one thing after another, like I got sick of it, but I just kind of became to a point to where I just dealt with it. Like it's weird to say that, like it became normal. Where it's like, okay, I'm just going to, after a meal, have to go and, without being too descriptive, have rapid fire, just come on through. And it's just like, it wasn't until I started with Stark that I'm like, wow, that was really unacceptable. Like that should have been a sign to do something about that. And I will say 4 months in, things just changed. And I just didn't even recognize it. Where I'm like, oh my God, I'm normal. Like I'm not going 5-6 times a day. Like my gut is all of a sudden not bloated and crazy. And I even went to New York over New Year's Eve, and we're with family and everything. My wife's family, Italian and Greek. Right. So lots of food, lots and lots of food. And I was terrified about this.
Loud too, right? Loud.
Yes, very loud. I mean, just great stuff, great company. They're great people. I was worried about the food because going to New York City, like I have all my spots. I used to live in New York City for several years, and I've got all my spots for food. And I realize, okay, pizza, okay, bagels, okay, pasta. I'm like, crap, how am I going to get away from gluten? And the one thing that I won't say that it was a savior in all of this, but it was kind of like the last resort was activated charcoal, which Dr. Alice told me, hey, if you're going to take anything, take that after you have some gluten. And I was shocked, by the way, because I was worried that all of a sudden I'm going to immediately go into such a bad state. Even having it, and I'm not advocating to all of a sudden get your stomach all healthy and then all of a sudden go eat a bunch of gluten, even if you have celiac disease. But it got so good that I actually didn't have that bad of any issues over that time frame. And I'm like, holy cow, this is a game changer. Not because I want to go and have it, but if all of a sudden I'm on a vacation or something along those lines, it's not like it's going to be an emergency to where I have to rush to the restroom every single time I have a meal, even if I have a tiny bit of gluten. So that was a game changer for me. And again, just getting to the point, and now that I'm back in Arizona, back on my regular schedule, my food habits are so routine out here that it's like I'm back to normal, and all of a sudden no issues whatsoever. And I'm just like, wow, I can't thank you enough for getting me to this point to where like I can live life. Like, I hate to put it in that term, but like I was suffering through life, so to speak. And now I'm actually living, which is crazy to think about and reflect on, but it is the absolute truth. And it's pretty outstanding that I'm able to get to this point. And granted, this, like you said, it's just the beginning.
That concept of being unaware is very, very common, and it resonates with me too. I think it's common inside of the United States and probably many other parts of the world in first world countries where there's just a total disconnect with states of sickness that are not necessarily recognized by your medical doctor, your family practice doctor. It's just sort of becomes a part of your life, and you become desensitized to it. And the problem with that is that those states of sickness, like gut health, for example, you were not able to absorb the nutrients if you were to eat good nutrients for your body. And your body needs those micronutrients to perform well. And so when you are able to course correct gut health problems, if you do have a problem, and it's indicated by things like IBS, at that stage, when those symptoms start going away, you become stronger in terms of being able to absorb the nutrients your body needs, and you start to experience those changes mostly in your joints, cognitively, like how sharp you are, energy levels, and it's transformative. But you don't, it's like you get used to the pebble in your shoe, and then all of a sudden the pebble goes away and you're like, oh, damn, I can't believe I was walking around with that pebble in my shoe for so long.
Dude, that is the best analogy ever.
That kind of brings you to the middle of this continuum. Like on the far end, you're suffering. You're, running to the bathroom 5 times a day. In the middle, you're sort of neutral. But then there's this optimized end, which you're pursuing right now. And what that does is it fortifies you to be able to take a trip to New York and eat a pizza and not be affected, or get the flu and rebound quickly because your immune system is strong.
Oh, that's another one, Todd. I got to stop you right there, because whenever I would get sick, gosh, I haven't even thought about this either until you just mentioned it. My wife actually made a reference to this because, and this happened a couple months ago, the first time that I had gotten like a cold during this entire process. I was the guy who would be down and out. If I got the cold, just a common cold, I would be in bed for 3 days. Like it would take out all my energy. And I never realized, and my wife always just was like, she'd get frustrated with me. She's like, it's just a cold. Like, get up, go do stuff. I would be so, like, my immune system was so bad that and I'm not exaggerating. Like when I got COVID 2 years ago at the beginning of the year, I was down until April. Like you could call it long COVID or whatever, but my immune system was just shot. I had nothing. And so there was nothing to fight it off. And I had no idea that this was going on, by the way. So once again, just another hidden benefit of working with you guys, to where all of a sudden all the nutrients and everything are getting dialed in. I get a cold. It wasn't until like one of my remote training sessions to where Shanae goes, hey, you're sick today. And I'm like, am I? Like, she goes, yeah, you're all congested. And she could just tell through obviously how I was speaking and so forth. And I'm like, oh, maybe I am. Maybe I'm coming down with something. And sure enough, came down with it. And I felt completely normal. Even though I had symptoms, I still had energy. I was still doing stuff. And even my wife was just like, wait a second. She's like, you're going to go to the grocery store and you're going to like go cook for us? Like what the hell is happening right now? She couldn't believe. And all of a sudden we realized, we're like, oh my God, I have an immune system. I'm normal. Like I'm normal, as like I can actually handle a sickness, and my body was fighting it off. And you know what the sign was? And we ended up doing a ChatGPT to look it up. I was pissing every like 30 minutes. My body was trying to get rid of whatever it was and flushing. And I wasn't even drinking that much water. And we were just like, what the heck is going on? And she's like, you never pee that much. And sure enough, it ended up being that like my body was fighting it off. And it was the first time that I ever recall being in that situation to where I felt normal, even though I was sick. And I haven't been, knock on wood, sick since. And every time we would travel, by the way, I would get sick as well. This is the first time I have not gotten sick after traveling.
That's great to hear. I mean, your immune system is very interesting. And unfortunately for most Americans, the immune system is overused. It's kind of like the city of Chicago on fire. The whole city is on fire. And you have your immune system is the fire department. And they're exhausted. And they're trying to cover the whole freaking city. Constantly new fires popping up here and there. And so just imagine that you're on fire and then you get the flu or COVID, or you injure your ankle or whatever it is, and your body has to try to repair that. Those firemen are like, no, I'm good. It's going to take a while for me to get to you. Yeah.
Let it burn.
But now imagine that the fire's out, the city's rebuilt, and a restaurant explodes. The fire department rushes over to that restaurant. puts the fire out, everything's good. Maybe there's a little damage, maybe there's some reparation, but it's no freaking problem for that fire department. These guys are like, I was getting bored sitting over here. Thank God I have something to do. That's your current state. And it's what how our bodies were designed to be used in a state of attack. And these small little attacks occur all the time. You breathe in the wrong thing, you drink water from a plastic bottle, et cetera. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. You want to try to, which is what we've done with you, minimize the things that are causing fires so that your body merely has to deal with things that we were naturally designed to deal with, which might be something like a virus. So that's what you're experiencing. On the other end of the spectrum, on the optimization end, imagine that you have poor gut health, and we are trying to get you to become stronger and trying to get you to eat the nutrients that you need for that outcome, along with all the exercise and better sleep and all those things. But you can't absorb the nutrients. So you can't get there, right? You have to be able to absorb the nutrients. So your immune function working well on one end is ideal, of course, but getting your gut health to a point where it's for lack of a better term, shredded, if we're talking about body composition, like your gut health is just absolutely crushing it. Getting to a state where you can add more muscle, or lifting weights and eating a grass-fed ribeye, like I had for breakfast this morning, matters more. You know what I mean? It actually matters more. You get greater bang for the dollars that you spend on the food, but you also get a better return on the time that you spend in the gym. And I'm sure your time is valuable to you and your family. So it's oftentimes an overlooked area of problem, or a problem area for consumers, because it's sort of outside of the realm of the traditional medical system in the United States. It's not something that medical doctors are really trained to focus on. That's why we use naturopathic medical doctors, because they're hyper focused on and well trained on gut health, because it is an underlying problem for most, an opportunity within the world of health optimization, which is where we live. So that kind of leads right into nutrients. Obviously, you're a nutrient absorbing machine at this stage. So everything you put in your mouth, good or bad, your body's going to be able to process it, deal with the bad stuff, and absorb the good stuff. You're in a great position to be able to continue down the road of health optimization, starting with your gut health. But of course, if you go back to eating a bunch of the things that cause the gut health problems in the first place, you can get back to where you were.
Yeah,
and
sure.
You're gonna feel it in your joints. You're gonna look all puffy in your face. You're gonna feel exhausted all the time. All the things that you used to experience, they'll come rushing back. And this is an interesting thought, because most people consider genetics. They put a lot of weight on genetics, but everything that you and I are talking about right now is the epigenome, epi being the Greek word for above, the things that control your genetics, the things that turn your genetic switches on or off. Those are the decisions that you're making in terms of the food that you're putting in your body, and how you're sleeping, and how you're exercising, and the foods that you're avoiding, and the things you're trying to avoid exposing yourself to, hopefully, like plastics and things of that nature that are all around us and up in our testes. I think you've probably seen those statistics.
Oh yeah.
You're at sort of like this stage where I would describe would be the launching pad for your future optimal self. So you're no longer in that state of sickness. Now you get to, it's like sitting on Santa's knee and telling Santa, I want a 40-inch vertical, or I'd like a 6-pack, or I'd like to be able to deadlift 800 pounds. And the question isn't if, the question is what is really just when, depending on what those goals are. And obviously those goals can be connected to golf or whatever you want. That's the exciting thing. We have so much control over our genetics by our decisions that we get to shape and become whomever we want. It's just a timeline question. Some things take longer. Like if I wanted to get a 40-inch vertical, which I believe I can. I believe I'm physically capable of. Sure, yeah. It's just a question of how long it'll take to get there and whether or not I'm willing to, like for me, as an example, just to provide some context for the listeners and for you, for me, I would have to improve my ankle mobility substantially. I would have to increase my explosive power in my lower body, obviously. And there might be some additional mobility issues that I'd have to course correct. And there's no doubt that I am physically capable of it. Maybe 39 inches. Maybe there's some, well, if Spud Webb, who is my height, what was his vertical? It was probably 40 inches.
At least. Yeah. That dude can jump.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, there are genetic components to it, but they're sort of minor, really. It's really a question of, like, Spud Webb can get there 5 times as fast as I can because of his genetics, but I can still get there. Like, it's going to take more time and more effort and more focus. And that would have to become probably for me my sole area of focus. It's not my area of focus because it doesn't line up with my values or things that I think are important. But my point is that I can, you can, anyone can. It just depends on how closely you can follow the plan and what the timeline looks like.
So my vanity goal then is totally reachable with the 6-pack.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Now, depending on your circumstances, hormonally speaking, there's a genetic component to how lean you get and how it affects your sex hormones. So, for example, and this applies to men and women just at different levels, different body fat percentage levels. Some men can walk around with a 6-pack and have super high testosterone levels. They don't get to a point where they're so lean that their body starts to go into fight or flight. Like, holy shit, this is a famine. I need to protect you. I'm going to downregulate everything. Your body kind of does that. And it's a very, very simplified version of what actually happens. Your body may start throwing up red flags at 15% body fat, and mine might start throwing up red flags at 10. You'll know when you can either get your labs done and we'll see it, or you won't be as enthusiastic. Your outlook will be more dim, maybe a little bit anxious, a little bit depressed. And those are symptoms associated with low testosterone levels because your body is down-regulating your testosterone. You literally won't want to move as much. You start feeling more aches and pains. All of that stuff is related to down-regulation of sex hormones. If you, at some stage in your life, I don't know if you're there now or you will be in the future, you probably will be in the future because you're going to live too long for your sex hormones. You'll replace them, so testosterone replacement therapy, and then you don't have that barrier any longer. There's no down-regulating your sex hormones. Your sex hormones are going to be like even Steven. You're just like, no emotional swings. You're like always sort of happy. Everything is good. And you can get leaner and leaner and leaner without the same physiological implications. But most men, most healthy men can get down to that 10 to 12% body fat range without seeing problems with sex hormones. So it's all doable, but you just have to pay really close attention to, like, in my opinion, I would never sacrifice my focus, energy levels, outlook, enthusiasm, the lack of joint pain I have, all those things that you get with optimal health just to have a 6-pack. I wouldn't swap it and be like, I'll take the 6-pack and feel like shit. I won't do that. I am in a position because I'm on TRT and I think I may have been able to be this lean as a younger person. I just didn't know how to do it. I get to have the best of both worlds. I'm clear-headed, optimistic, healthy, lack of joint pain, sleep well, things like that. And I have a 6-pack at all times. And once you get there, by the way, this is an interesting thought for the listeners. It's not hard to keep it. Like everything, you're a great example right now. You're already experiencing this. What you experience today, if you just were like, I'm good, I'm going to stop. This is it. Everything's fine. I'm lean enough. I'm clear-headed enough. My gut health is great. My energy is great. My sleep is great. Like, I'm good. I don't need to take it further. And you just try to maintain. So at this stage, there's a lot of options. At the beginning stages, there aren't that many. Like you've got the city of Chicago fire analogy going on, and you got to put the freaking fire out, and his shit's just falling apart. That's the beginning, right? Now it's like the world is your oyster. Just imagine what you want, and you pick it, and then the plan and the prioritization goes into play, because you don't have 12 hours a day to dedicate to your health like a pro athlete. So you have to prioritize, and then there's a timeline associated with it, and it should be reasonable. That's it. Yeah.
Talking about all this testosterone, I do want to make one comment around this, because it's something that I never realized how important it was. And I'm not on TRT. That I can't wait until I get to the point to where I am. But like starting a family, because my wife's 8 years younger than me. So we're just at the point to where we've been trying. We had a big challenge where over a year and a half prior to starting with Starker, about a year, I would say, we were trying and had no results, right? So medication started getting involved with her, and all of a sudden, but we didn't realize how important it was to be healthy within that process. At the very beginning of Stark, we found out that she was pregnant and ultimately had a miscarriage. That was, and people don't talk about it enough, because it's like, you kind of go into your own shell afterwards, and you're like, man, I wonder if anybody else is dealing with this. And then all of a sudden you find out that other friends, oh yeah, we've had several times to where like we've had issues and had miscarriages and so forth. But we didn't realize how common that was, especially when you're unhealthy, right? You were talking to me the last time I was in Newport, and you gave me the whole spiel about how it's going to be a lot easier now that you're healthy. And because we stopped for a period of time. And sure enough, that trip that I was out in Newport Beach, got her pregnant. And so we just had the confirmation appointment where, she is officially pregnant. We got a heartbeat, the whole 9 yards.
Wow.
So,
congratulations.
So thank you.
Happy for you.
Let's chalk it up to another Stark baby. But yeah, everything you said came tenfold. Like, you are a truth speaker when it comes to this stuff, because everything that you mentioned is exactly what happened. Like, one and done. Like, she wasn't on medication this time, like nothing. And it was just that we were both healthy, and she's been healthy because of a byproduct of me. Right. So like the diet has changed. She's kind of followed what I eat, and all of a sudden she lost a ton of weight within that process too. And it's like, whoa, hang on a second. Like this whole thing. And she would work out and so forth, but the diet was never there. Right. All of a sudden we're at a place to where we're both healthy, and naturally, boom, one and done. So yeah, it's quite exciting. But at the same time, I wanted to share that because it's like, man, you're not kidding with health and being able to be reproductive. So yeah, thank you for that.
You're welcome. That's really exciting. I'm so happy for you. Did I tell you that Alice got pregnant in 2024?
No.
Yeah. So this is really a fascinating topic. And this is obviously very personal, and it was very sad because she ended up having a miscarriage, but I was actually going to be like that 70-year-old father picking up the kid at high school. And I was getting we weren't planning this, by the way. And I mentioned that I'm on TRT. And so this is a really interesting sidebar on fertility. When you become optimally healthy, which is connected to lower stress levels, like when you're optimally healthy, you do not have the same experience of stress. Mammals, in general, become more fertile. It has always been that way. As an example, I'm a hunter, and if the winter is brutal, and there's a lot of stress, or the summer is very dry, there's not enough water, the deer are under stress. They do not have as many babies. We're mammals as well. We don't have the physical stressors that we used to have, but we have the mental, emotional stressors, which I can probably argue are more impactful to fertility. And then you add the stressors that come from not having access to good quality nutrients, like the food that we eat is generally not good enough. And you have this perfect environment for preventing pregnancy. That's kind of what Americans face and why we have a bit of a fertility issue. So just imagine that all that stuff is removed and you're a healthy mammal. Your body today, on a day-to-day basis experiences far less stress. And the same with your wife because you guys are healthier. So it's not surprising that you didn't need to jump through a bunch of hoops to get her pregnant.
Yeah, and with TRT, you've mentioned to me that's like the male birth control right there.
Yeah. I used to say up until maybe a year and a half ago that it was the world's greatest form of birth control because your spouse is going to want to have sex with you because you're better looking, and you're going to want to have sex because you feel better and you have more energy and you have a higher sex drive in general because your brain is just firing on all cylinders. Everything is clicking, and everything works better too because the sex hormone receptors are tightly clustered in your brain and your gonads, right? So it's here and down south that you feel the greatest impact, mostly in your mind, but secondarily, not that far secondarily, in your reproductive organs. And so when you run labs on a male that's on TRT, I can't remember the marker, but it goes down to, there's two markers. They go down to 0 effectively. And up until when we first started having male Stark students get their partners pregnant, we thought, along with the entire rest of the medical community, that, yeah, testosterone prevents you from getting your significant other pregnant. And that's not true. We don't know why. But there's some connection to having the biochemical impact of testosterone suppressing your ability to reproduce and counteracted by the optimal health position that you're in. Does that make sense? So if you're really, really healthy as a mammal, you're more fertile, and that's like maybe discounted by being on testosterone, but not 100%, clearly, because we have Stark babies. We've had many people, middle-aged couples, that have gone through all the fertility stuff and failed, and they're like, well, this has been tough on my health. I think I'll join Stark and I'll tighten up my health, and maybe it'll help me feel a little bit better about things, and I have to get back to my old self. And they become really healthy and they get pregnant. It's not crazy when you think it seems kind of logical when you process it. It's just that it's not how the medical system thinks about health. Like, you wouldn't go to a fertility clinic, walk in and have the doctor tell you, well, just get really, really healthy, and I'll see you in like 3 months or 6 months or something. And I'm not going to give you any drugs. You don't need it. They're just going to, go through the whole fertility process.
That's what's wild, is that, like, she didn't have to be on any medication. Like, that right there just showed how important optimizing your health really is, right? And getting to this point to where we were both healthy, and it all just happened naturally to where it's like, yeah, didn't need any help or anything like that. Doctors would go out of business. Like, they wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah, they would. I empathize with them, because what you have done with yourself, which is what a fertility doctor would need you to do, and your wife, in order to actually conceive, is very hard to get people to do. And the likelihood of success without constant connection, right? Like, no, Matt, don't do it that way. Do it this way. Oh, no, change your protein intake a little bit. Oh, yeah, that's good. No, you can't just eat regular beef. You know what I mean? All the little nuances because you're effectively going down one road, you're heading north on the freeway, and we're trying to gradually get you to head south. It's the opposite direction, man. Like, the way you're living your entire life is off by about 180 degrees. And that thing is difficult. And the medical system isn't structured to guide people like that. At least it isn't today. It's too transactional and insurance based. So they're just not, even if they had the knowledge around that, which they don't, the execution would be very, very difficult.
Lifestyle. You mentioned that because my lifestyle changed. Like I used to be, the things that used to be important all of a sudden have faded away to where it's like, I always was kind of a foodie, right? However, when you all of a sudden have that shift of thinking of food as something that you really crave and want all the time, and granted, like, do I still get cravings? Absolutely. But that's besides the point, where food now is an energy source. It's a nutrient. It's what I actually need to fuel myself. And when you all of a sudden flip that switch, for me, it's been night and day, to where it's like, we don't go out to restaurants anymore. Like I literally do the majority of the cooking around the house because I enjoy knowing what's going into my body and being able to track it. Like those are the things that really for me, because that allows me to make sure that I am on track with everything. And it becomes a lifestyle change, but it becomes an important part of your life, to where like, that's what I prioritize it. Like it's actually something that I look forward to on a daily basis, of being like, okay, this is what I'm having in the morning. This is what I'm having. And I follow, by the way, on Instagram, you post your morning breakfast. And I'm like, oh, damn, that sounds good. And then you look at the nutrients and everything, and I'm like, damn, Todd's really got this dialed in around that. So maybe I'll dabble with this or that. And I love that. I love seeing like the things from you that you're doing to optimize your health. The only thing that I'm like, where do you get that from, is the fermented egg salad. Like where does that come from?
So good. Well, we get most of our fermented vegetables from a place called Fermentation Farm. They have like 2 locations in Orange County, and I think they're out of Santa Barbara. So they're a regional business, but you can get fermented foods in general from places like Whole Foods and other such markets. I'm assuming we buy some from Whole Foods as well, but they also periodically have that egg salad, and it is amazing. When you come out here next, you should swing by and take some back to Arizona.
Oh, I'm definitely doing that now.
It is so good. It is so good. Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to share with the audience on your journey before we close this? And then also share with the audience where they can find you, because you're an actual podcaster.
Yeah. So final thoughts. I mean, what felt like something that would be impossible when I began now seems so easy in hindsight, that it was right there in front of me. And the biggest, I guess you could say, compliment to Stark is that your team makes it easy, and you guys work together around all of this, to where like, I think of it as a Tesla with the full self-driving. I just put in the destination and it drives me there. You guys are doing the same thing with health. I mean, it's as easy as that. You say what you want, and all you got to do is allow the team to provide you with what you need in order to get there. And all you got to do is follow it. It is that easy. And by the way, even if you're remote, that's one thing we haven't really talked about that much, is that I didn't know if this was going to be possible doing it remotely. And it's easy. It is the easiest thing ever to do it remotely. I come in once a month to Newport Beach and come in and get the in-person stuff all done, the blood work, the labs. I mean, everything from that aspect is done on site, but everything else, the personal training, the mobility sessions, all done remotely. It is so easy. And all you need is access to gym equipment and some mobility stuff, and you're good to go. So, I mean, that stuff to me, I don't know if I ever felt like doing it remote would be able to work. So kudos to you guys and how easy you've made it to be able to be not necessarily right there on site, and to have the accomplishments and be able to achieve what you need to. And again, I'll mention it again because I'm a relatively new Tesla guy and didn't realize how much I would love the full self-driving until I actually started to use it. Told my wife, I'm like, I'm never going to use this. I love driving the car. A mile away, I just put in full self-driving and it drives, man. I'm like, holy crap. So, yeah, I have fully, whether it's Stark Health or whether it's the Tesla, like I just press a button and boom, I'm there.
Well, it's been great moving through this with you and seeing you transform. And I'm excited to see what happens over the next 6 months, because this is, in my opinion, it's a really exciting part.
I'm excited about it. And as far as where people can find me, the handles for social media are going to be changing. But as of right now, it's at Pull Hook Golf. It's going to be changing to the Pull Hook as part of this journey with Stark. It started helping me with a little bit more self-discovery as well. Just with how I was feeling and realizing what is important in life and what's important with conversations like this. And even you with your podcast here with Health is a Skill. I mean, it really made me think, wow, I need to go a little bit deeper than what I've been talking about. So the Pull Hook is going to be the rebranded podcast. It's actually, by the time this comes out, it should be out, but you can find me on Instagram, on X, I still call it Twitter, and also on YouTube, and then any major podcast platform. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can find the podcast, The Pull Hook. So, yeah.
All right. Thanks so much for spending time with me, Matt. If you'd like to learn more about Stark, you can find us at stark.health. That's stark.health.